in the infrastructure facilities, economic development process also starts. So here, these infrastructure facilities, in order to fulfill the accelerating the process of economic development, it is the must be continuous process of increasing the infrastructure facilities. One of the important significance of infrastructure facilities when we observe smooth functioning of economy. Smooth functioning of economy. See, infrastructure facilities are very necessary because it playing a vital role for functioning of the economy. Because when we look into the infrastructure, they like wheels of the development, without which the economy will not be able to function smoothly or properly. Because infrastructure facilities, if we provide infrastructure facilities that develop other industries also, so automatically employment opportunities will increase, income levels increase. That process taken place as a development of the economy. And also development of agriculture. When we observe development of agriculture, it depends on the adequate expansion, development of irrigation, credit, transportation, power, marketing, transportation, and education. If we develop these aspects, it may be irrigation, credit, facilities, transportation, power and marketing, training, education. So this, because it also depends on the improvement of research development, so that these all the facilities if we provide, that leads to increase the development of agriculture sector. Because most of the underdeveloped countries or developing countries are engaged in agriculture sector. These facilities will help. This leads to induces the growth process in the less developed countries. Another one, development of the industry. Development of industry. So industrial production, which requires not only machinery, equipments, but also requires other crucial activities like energy, skilled manpower, management, banking and insurance, okay, and transportation services. So when we develop the industrial production process, not only when we are talking about the industry, not only the machinery and equipment, but also other allied sectors like skilled energy, manpower management system, banking and insurance, transportation and services, which also leads to develop these industries or services. So these activities, particularly these facilities, will directly lead to the development of industrial sector and the economy. The another important significance of infrastructure facilities, promotion of investment. Promotion of investment. Now, when we develop the infrastructural development, prerequisites for increasing economic development through the investment. There are other sectors also attract more capital and investment, so that larger the investment, what does mean? Further the development of the industry will increase, and also that leads to agriculture sectors also Thus, the opportunities will increase. Employment it creates due to promotion of investment in industry that leads to increase in the agriculture sector, that leads to gives the more opportunities and creating employment opportunities so that the development process taken place. And also improvement in the production, improvement in the production, infrastructural development such as transportation facilities, education that increase the productivity. When we develop infrastructure development, when we provide opportunities, particularly in infrastructure, that leads to transportation, that leads to education system. If we provide facilities in transportation and education, then that leads to increase in the productivity. So here there are also the development of science and technology. There are also research and development taken place that leads to improving the improvement of economic productivity. Employment generation also, it creates employment generation through the infrastructure. Infrastructure, when we observe, it plays an important role to generation of employment opportunities, to improve the mobility of factors, efficiency and productivity of the labor. So wherever the for laborers, skilled laborers, if they want to move one place to another, they can easily move. They can easily get employment opportunities because they are in efficient manner. They can productivity will increase. That leads to increase the employment opportunities. Apart from this, employment, there is also no primary influence in infrastructure that economic development taken place. Economic development that taken place. Some of the essential significance when we observe in this point of view, development of backward regions. Development of backward regions. See, the development of backward regions and the removal of regional imbalance, it is another significant contribution of infrastructure facilities when we provide. When we provide infrastructure facilities, the backward areas will develop. Due to develop of these backward areas, regional imbalance we can control. The lack of infrastructure facilities in backward region, that still imbalances will be there. So that regional imbalances that we can through the infrastructure facilities, we can reduce the regional imbalances through the infrastructural facilities. Through the infrastructural facilities. So here, when we are talking about the infrastructural facilities, whether the significant or not, when we develop infrastructure facilities, social changes also important. See, infrastructural facilities, which also act as an instrument of social changes, development of industries, transport facilities, education facilities, it look into the people. What does it mean? There is a social changes will be through the infrastructure facilities, through the industrial transportation facilities, through the education. These all are the infrastructure, right? So when we develop these, automatically they change in the economic outlook. That is nothing but social changes. And also the growth of the researchers. particularly growth of the GDP. It is very close relationship exists, particularly infrastructure and economic growth or GDP. When we now observe, there are different studies. They revealed that at least 1% of the stock infrastructure that associated with same proportion with the GDP. It speaks that the growth of infrastructure directly proportional to the growth. So whenever there is a increase in the uh, infrastructure facilities, when we provide infrastructure facilities, that leads to increase the growth of the economy. That we have to remember. And overall development, when we observe, the infrastructure development is an important not only for the economic growth, but also overall development of the economy. Infrastructure facilities, particularly, it is also necessary for technological innovation. Along with the technological, economic infrastructure facilities, and also it is important for eradication of poverty and enhancing the globalization. Through the infrastructure facilities, we can adapt new technological innovations that leads to new infrastructure facilities we can provide, particularly that leads to eradication of the poverty in the underdeveloped countries and developing countries. The infrastructure, when we observe, it is playing an important role in developing development process, not only in the economy but also civilization as well. The public utility services which is taken place, time utility and the goods and services. The link, production, distribution, and end to the consumers as well. Therefore, whenever we are talking about infrastructure, it brings together these elements of the economic system in the country. So there are no advantages are there when we provide infrastructure facilities in the country, because these infrastructure facilities which helps the development of the market, all the elements of the within the country. These facilities large scale production and smoothen the functions of the economy. These particularly eliminate the regional imbalances. These infrastructure facilities can control the price stability and easy to ensure the mobility of factors mobility and the capital formation also. The overall growth, when we observe, towns and cities will increase rapidly. No employment generation it is providing. It is providing employment opportunities, creating employment and providing opportunities also. It creates price and time utility, and also it plays a vital role in the development of agriculture sector as well as industrial sector. The development of infrastructure directly results in economic development. Directly result in economic development. What does it mean? When we develop the infrastructure, there are various certain areas are there. No, social infrastructure and physical infrastructure. If we develop that, then automatically growth process will start and it will the development process taking place. So infrastructure and economic development, is there any relationship or not? When we observe, it's a basic requirement for the development is infrastructure. Infrastructure is the basic requirement for development of the economy. It does not produce goods and services directly, but it facilitates the production in a primary and secondary and tertiary economic activities. These infrastructure facilities, it provides in primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector, but it directly it not produce any goods and services when we observe. What does it mean? The economic development in any country directly depends on the development of infrastructure. Development of the infrastructure. So if you consider, if you take any country, the development taken place due to improving the infrastructure facilities in that particular country. So infrastructure is a base for economic growth because this infrastructure, as I said, base for the economic growth. Infrastructure, it creates development process through the infrastructure, as I said, roads, water systems, transportation, airports, and utilities, supporting services, which all help the growth directly, productive activities like agriculture and manufacturing sectors will increase. Agriculture and manufacturing sectors will increase. So output of the infrastructure, particularly such as power, water facilities, transportation, which are used as the inputs for production process, directly they produce agriculture and manufacturing products. Therefore, it is the availability of infrastructure that results in the underutilization as an asset of the economy. We have to utilize in a proper manner the resources, and we have to develop the infrastructure facilities that leads to increase the growth of the economy. The adequate infrastructure in the form of roads and railway transportation system, power and ports, airports, and their efficient working for the integration of Indian economy with the other economic of the world. All these are needed for provision of reliable services and business to grow and expand. They also play very important role, particularly facilitating the smooth running of all the activities in the economy. So infrastructure, there is a two-way relationship between economic growth and infrastructure that promote economic growth. Economic growth brings about the changes of infrastructure facilities. There is a two-way relationship. We call it as bidirectional relationship. Infrastructure is influencing economic growth. At the same time, economic growth process influencing the infrastructure. If we develop infrastructure, economic growth also develop or increase, impacting on positive relation. At the same time, when the economic growth is growth more, infrastructure facilities also more. So that is the reason why there is a two-way relationship between economic growth and infrastructure. When we observe from the these sectors, we can identify a significant infrastructure that resulting the utilization of assets in all the sectors of the economy, and also the infrastructure facilities such as transport, improvement in the productivity that leads to significant impact. Infrastructure facilities, when we observe particularly, it is a key modern technology in all the sectors when we observe. So it is more important. That is the reason why there is a, as I said, positive relationship between infrastructure and economic growth or development. So it is very important to develop our infrastructure. It provides, leads to increase the growth of the economy. In low income countries, the total value added is contributed by infrastructure services around 6.5%. 6.5%. The infrastructure services. The proportion of this increase in the 6.5% to 9% in middle income countries, particularly, and 11% in high income countries. See the variation. Low income countries are contributing to the, this from this infrastructure, it is 6.5% only. Middle income countries, it is contributing 9%. And the high income countries are 11%. It is contributing to the total value added. So when we observe, there is a backward linkages between economic growth and infrastructure. When we observe, what does it mean backward linkages? The growth in turn, when we observe the makes demand on infrastructure, composition of infrastructure that changes, that creates, increase the income levels. Development, the quality of infrastructure helps economic development and facilitating the production and innovations to the economy. Infrastructure facilities, greater opportunities, particularly to produce and invest more from the when we provide the through the backward linkages. So infrastructure as a public good or not? Yes, infrastructure as a public good. Most of the economic or physical infrastructure services which are when we observe, these are the available particularly to the public. Consumers may be charged for these services, may be supplied free. Social benefit of the infrastructure services for the exceed the cost involved their their generation. We call it as externalities. So public good is one good that is provided to the society as a whole consumption by individuals, does not reduce its availability, does not exclude to the other consumers or when they consume it. So what are the characteristics of public good? When we observe, there are two important features, public good and particularly from the public good, there are two important features. One is non-rivalry and the other is non-excludability. Non-rival and non-excludability. What is non-rival? See, the benefit from the street light, for example, the benefit from the street light that does not reduce the light availability to the others. So here, what does it mean? The consumption of a good which is public, particularly that we said non-rival good, won't be away affect on the consumption of the some other consumers. So this is we call it as non-rival good. Non-excludability. What does it mean? It cannot stop anyone from accessing the public good through the any mechanism. And for example, non-excludable good, that is atmosphere. Anybody can exclude and anyone from breathing, right? So here when we talk about the public good, it is a good that can be used by one individual, does not reduce the availability of others. The goods can affect consumed simultaneously by more than one person. That is public good. This public good includes the knowledge, official statistics, national security, and disaster management system, common languages of public park, lighthouse, street lighting, and other societal goods. So free rider, many public goods may be subject to the exclusive, which are resulting in negative externalities that is affecting for all the users. For example, air pollution and traffic. Public goods problems are often closely related to the rider problem. This is about the public good. When we are talking about the another concept, that is social infrastructure. Social infrastructure, we are going to discuss the need of social infrastructure in India. What are the trends of social sector expenditure in India, particularly education system, India's national health policy, how preventive health cares are there, medical infrastructure facilities, how it is in India, drinking water and sanitation, we are going to discuss along with that insurance also. So here, the social infrastructure means those basic activities and services which in addition to the achieving certain social objectives, indirectly helping various economic activities. For example, education system. Education does not directly affect the economic growth or economic activities or production or distribution. But this education indirectly, which helps the economic development of any country, at the same time producing scientists, technological engineers. So education and health services, sanitation and water supply, which all are examples for the social infrastructure. Social infrastructure means education, health services, sanitation and water supply, which all are comes under the social infrastructure. So the development of sufficient and quality infrastructure that helps the development process, that helps the production, that helps the investment in the economy. So higher infrastructure facilities that gives greater opportunities, as I said earlier. So opportunities will increase so that producers come and invest more. The shortage of these facilities in underdeveloped countries is the main cause for the less economic development. The particularly these are the social infrastructures are the very less in less developed countries. So that is the reason why the development process has not taken. Need of this social infrastructure in India. See, when we observe the economic development process, particularly the existence of infrastructure or social overhead capital that generates the externalities. Economic development, that is, not only the economic infrastructure like well-developed transport, communication network, irrigation facilities, but also social and economic opportunities are have to improve or have to increase. Therefore, Not only the infrastructure, but also human capital that plays a central role in economic development process. Along with infrastructure, this social and economic also very important for the development of the any country. When we observe India's main task ahead, when we observe the poverty and ignorance of disease and inequality opportunity, which expands the our freedom and lead to this. When we observe India, it continue to generate progress that increasing the income levels, improving the living of standard over the past decades when we observe. So there is a positive association between health and education. Education empowers the people's use of information that leads to healthy behavioral choices. Healthy are more likely to attend school, to work, to work effectively. When we observe the nutrition is a particular problem in India or underdeveloped countries, the percentage of malnutrition and some segments of the population among the highest levels of the malnutrition is in the world. The poor suffer from the health and poverty related problems, high infant mortality rate and high mortality rates, high fertility rate, and that leads to high malnutrition. Reduction of this infant mortality slow down during the over a period of time, and also the when we observe the impact of subordinary and high levels of disease, malnutrition, and poor sanitation, water supplies, that is negative impact. When we observe the trends in social sector expenditure in India, considering India's demographic advantage as a large and young population, producing particularly age group improvements, improvements, and the social sectors like education, healthcare, water supply, and sanitation levels are impacted on quality life of the people, as well as productivity increase in the economy. When we observe the investment process, the infrastructure is pre-requirement of the inclusive growth and employment. Ayushman Bharat is one of the important health society program. Building the social infrastructure facilities, improving the medical facilities, child safe, and some of the milestones we have achieved over a period of time when we observe. It may be access the electricity, clean cooking facilities, okay, housing for the all the houses. Moreover, when we observe the efforts are continuously being made to ensure the water supply to all the rural households by 2024, and a social waste management system, and every village that emphasis on laid on quality of higher education, promotion of women entrepreneurship, nutrition, and women children, overall the human development that related to the expenditure and social sectors. When we are talking about the education system in India, Sustainable Development Goals. Number 4, that seeks that inclusive and equitability of equality education. A quality education has to provide that promotes lifelong learning opportunities for all the people by 2023. In India, particularly when we observe compulsory education starts from the sixth and ends at the age of 14 years under the no right to children to free and compulsory education act 2009. So that stimulates norms and standards of recognized particularly schools imparting elementary education system. According to NSS report 75 round, through the interesting findings we have identified and faced affordability of higher education sector. Students pursuing education in private aided institutions are spending significantly higher as compared to the government institutions across the rural and urban, we can observe. So due to absence of competition in government schools, the quality education in the government schools are very low. As a result, what will happen? The students are prefer to enroll themselves in private schools rather than the government. So government has initiated the process of formulating the new education policy to provide good education and a requirement of the population with regard to quality education. Innovation researches has taken place to know that leads to larger support and equipping the students to the necessary skills, knowledge providing, and eliminating the shortage of manpower in science and technology and academic and industry. So that is the progress of educational institutions when we observe. And also India's national health policy. India's national health policy, when we look into this topic, the national health policy introduced in 2017 for universal access to the good quality of health and services. Ayushman Bharat with its two components, particularly health and wellness centers to provide comprehensive primary health care, and Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, which is provide for the health cover of 10.74 crores for vulnerable families. The government has taken various initiatives, particularly for health. The focus of healthcare, which is more important pillar that leads to healthcare, providing affordable healthcare, providing medical infrastructure facilities, medical health, child health, which all are non-communicable marketed to increase the burden on non-communicable diseases. The government is focused on more addressing the particularly for uh, providing the opportunities to the particularly providing the facilities to the healthcare centers. Primitive healthcare, when we observe this, promote the preventive healthcare and half lakh of Ayushman Bharat health and wellness centers that are provided proposed to set up by 2022, a total of 28,005 have large setup in 2020 to So when we observe under the mission Indradhanush, almost 3.39 crores of children and 87% lack of pregnant women in 680 districts across the countries. They have been vaccinated. Medical infrastructure facilities in India. When we observe this, the doctor population ratio in India 1 is to 1456 against the World Health Organization, their recommendation of 1 is to 1000. The shortage of doctors, particularly the government has embarked and identified. They have taken some initiatives. The district hospitals into medical colleges they have arranged. In the last 5 years, the government has sanctioned 141 new medical colleges. The norms of graduate and postgraduate seats, particularly for medical colleges, have been revised. They increased. So the government operates centrally sponsored schemes established, particularly new medical colleges, which are attached with the existing district hospitals. Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana program, which was launched to augment particularly tertiary healthcare capacity in medical clinical care, medical education and research over the different areas in the country, under which AIIMS National Medical Mission Act 2019 was to enable the constitution of National Medical Commission. Reforms has been brought out to introduce the common entrance for the UG. So the government has supported states and health systems, strengthening the under the umbrella programs of national health missions. So this has been result and strengthening the improvements in the health infrastructure. Particularly, public health facilities are provided in the states. Apart from these, particular programs, there have been, renovation of sub-centers also there. Particularly, they are providing, primary health centers, community health centers, and sub-district hospitals also. They are provided in the country. When we observe government supported states nearly 2.51 lakhs of additional health human resources, which includes 10,767 general duty medical officers. There are various specialists, staff nurses, okay, which all are the government has provided to the states. The mission has support to the co-location of Ayush service in health facilities such as physical health care and other services also. So the social health care services across the country, particularly in rural and urban, under the NM, NHM, and they are creating between community and public health system. They are providing community and public health systems. Drinking water facilities and sanitation in India. When we look at the drinking and water sanitation system, the Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, Ministry of Jal Shakti, which was launched on 10-year rural sanitation strategy in 2019 to 2029. Particularly, it is under the Swachh Bharat mission, Gramin, that is ensuring no one is left behind this program. That increasing the access of liquid waste management, since they have under the almost 10 crore of the toilets have been built in rural areas, and 5.9 lakhs of in villages, 699 in districts. They have declared themselves open defection of free. Swachh Surakshan Gramin 2019, the survey covered around 17,450 villages and 698 districts across the India, which includes 87,000 almost the public places, namely schools, Anganwadi centers, public health centers, regional places, and make it in India the largest rural sanitation survey. Around 2.5 lakh of citizens are interviewed themselves. They have taken feedback from that particular survey. When we are talking about the insurance in India, the insurance sector in India, the market which covers both public and private sectors in India, it is listed in Constitution of India, 7th schedule, and a list of the subject to the meaning. When we are talking about the insurance sector, particularly, it allowed private companies in insurance sector in 2000 and setting up of limit, 26%. That increased to 49% in 2014. Since the 2001, the largest life insurance company in India, the Life Insurance Corporation of India, it has been, market share slowly slipping to the private gains like HDFC, ICICI, and Prudential Life Insurance, SBI Life Insurance Company. It slowly given to the private sectors. When we are observed, talking about the insurance in 1818, there is a life insurance business in India, which was established in the Oriental Life Insurance Company in Calcutta, particularly in 1818. Later, 1829, Madras Equitable that has begun, transacting life insurance business, particularly in Madras Presidency. The Indian Life Insurance Company Act 1912 was, first statutory that measure to relate the business. When we are talking about in 1928, the Indian Insurance Company Act that was enacted to enable the government, particularly to collect the statistical information both for life and non-life businesses transacted in India, particularly foreigners and foreign insurance, which are provident insurance in societies. The Insurance Amendment Act in 1950, they abolished principal agencies. There were large number of insurance companies, and the level of competition was high. There were also allegations of unfair trade practices. The government of India therefore decided to nationalize insurance businesses. Particularly, ordinance was issued in 1956. The life insurance sector and the Life Insurance Corporation came into the existence in January 19th, in 1956. This LIC absorbed 154 Indian and 16 non-Indian insurances and 75 provident societies and 245 Indian and foreigner insurances are there. The LIC, it acted as a monopoly till the late 90s. Then the insurance sector was reopened with other, private sectors. The general insurance in India has, its root establishment of Trinitan Insurance Company Limited. They have, established in 1950, 1850, particularly in, British rule time period. So when we are talking about the insurance in 2000, December in 2000, the subordinate, the General Insurance Corporation of India were restricted, as independent companies. As same the time, General Insurance Corporation was converted into National Reinsurer. Today, there are 31 general insurance companies which are included in agriculture insurance, particularly uh, corporation, 24 life insurance companies which are operating in India. So here, when we talk about overall what we discussed in this class, infrastructure, as I said, it is basic requirement for economic development, because the developed countries, they have made a lot of progress due to tremendous growth in social and economic infrastructure. These countries follow advanced techniques of production, but less developed countries like India lack of qualitative infrastructure. Due to this, the level of economic development is very low. When we are talking about the social infrastructure, it means the basic activities such as, in addition to the achieving certain social objectives with the help of various economic activities. For example, as I said in the class, education does not directly affect production process or distribution, but it indirectly help the economic development process through the producing scientists, using advanced technology, providing engineers. So education and health services, sanitation and water supplies, which are more important and which are examples for the social infrastructure. So the efforts of the government, the motto of the government, Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas, and Sabka Vikas, which is improved the access to the social services. Over the years, the participation in education as well as the, when we observe the data, that improved both rural and urban areas. Under the mission Indradhanush, around 3.39 crores of the children and 87% lakh of the pregnant women were benefited. 680 districts across the countries, particularly the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, which was launched to accelerate the progress of water conservation activities, which are stressed districts of India. Wherever it required, they have Jal Shakti Abhiyan was launched to provide water facilities to overcome that problem in the India. So this is all about the infrastructure facilities, and we have seen what are the needs of infrastructure, social infrastructure in India, trends and social sector expenditures, education system in India. We have seen national health policy and pre preventive of healthcare, medical infrastructure facilities, drinking water facilities and sanitation in India, insurance system we have discussed so far. Here, uh, in no infrastructure, we observe that is fundamental facilities. Once again, I'm telling it is fundamental facilities for any country. It is necessary for the economy for the functioning smoothly because infrastructure broadly categorized. I said social infrastructure and physical infrastructure. Physical infrastructures are basic service that are fundamental tool for the economy, which includes physical structure, like energy, dam, transportation, and the social infrastructure means the basic activities which are services, particularly in addition to the achieving of the social objectives.